I was like my third week on the job. This was my like second, third SDR gig. And I realized that the flights and the hotel were going to be about $6,000. I had literally just maxed out all of my credit cards to move for this job. I did not have $6,000. So I had to go to my boss and say, I can borrow this money from my in-laws. And my boss, God bless this woman, because she was like,
Welcome to the She's So Sweet podcast, where we interview accomplished women who have worked their way to the C-suite. I'm your host, Kristi Faltorusso, Chief Customer Officer and award-winning customer success executive. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. I've got Ashleigh Early, who is the CEO of the Other Side of Sales Consulting and also the head of growth at MKG Marketing. So Ashleigh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited about our conversation today, Ashleigh. And I think just based off of our little dialogue beforehand, I think our listeners are going to get a treat today.
Oh, thanks for setting the bar high. I appreciate that.
Yeah. My bar is always very high. All right. So listen, before we get into all the good stuff, and we're going to tell people all about your career journey and all of your learnings along the way, but let's set the stage. Tell us, what are you doing in your current roles? Tell us about your companies. Obviously, one of these is yours. You're the CEO. So help us understand what you're doing today.
Yeah. So first thing, I am actually the CEO of Other Side of Sales Consulting, which is a consulting practice that I run focused on revenue optimization and fractional sales leadership. So basically, I work with a lot of companies who are transitioning from founder-led sales to actually building a repeatable, scalable B2B sales motion. And I help them navigate that process, starting off in a fractional role and then eventually helping them scale that into a full-time role and hiring basically my replacement, one of my favorite things to do. And then I also work as head of growth for MKG Marketing, which is an agency focused on SEO and digital ads, especially for small marketing teams. So really trying to be the agency that grows with you rather than the agency that just comes in and you throw some money at them and you hope something sticks.
I love that. That's great. And so how long has the Other Side of Sales been around? How long have you been doing this?
So this is kind of an interesting story because Other Side of Sales started as a podcast. So,
okay. I love that. So yeah, go take me on that journey.
Yeah. So, I mean, it literally started, it's one of my favorite stories to tell was, I was at a sales conference back in 2018 and, was it 20? No, it was 2018, 2017.
I mean, everything pre-pandemic is just like the before and the after. So like
a long time ago and far, far away. I was at a sales conference when those were still, definitely pre-pandemic. And I went to the restroom and while in the restroom, I'm, touching up my lipstick quick as one does. And a girl walked up to the mirror next to me and I turned to her, I'm like, this is the best thing about sales conferences. There's always space at the mirror. And she and I just busted a gut laughing because there's literally no one else in the bathroom. It's the only place, unfortunately, in a lot of our lives where there's never a line. So we were just laughing about that and what's like being the only woman at an executive sales conference. I mean, there were 2,000 C-suite executives there and there were maybe 100 women.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's sad. It's getting better. Yeah. It's getting better, but it is the reality of things. So we started as a joke, but that woman was named Casey Jones. And she and I we swapped phone numbers because I'm that weird, awkward person who, if I resonate with someone, especially another woman, I'm going to be like, hi, not to be completely creepy. And I've talked about the fact that I'm married, but can I have your phone number and can we please be friends? Like, I have no shame about this anymore. That. I'm in my late 30s. It is too hard to make friends. If I think you're cool, I'm going to ask for your number. And then I'm going to hit you up on WhatsApp with like stupid gifts. It's too hard. I don't have time to like do apps or anything like that. So like, I've literally gotten phone numbers from people who I thought were cool, like the local wine store. I was like, we're laughing about something. So let's talk. So anyway, Casey and I stay in touch for a few months. And a couple months later, we were both named we were both interviewed to be part of a book.
Oh, cool.
And you'd think. But in talking to each other, we realized we were the only two women out of this list. And we're both white women. And we're like, oh no, this is bad. And when we approached the author, he completely blew up at both of us.
You're kidding.
Oh, it's a whole drama. Like I'm intentionally not saying the name of this person because he has not talked to us since. But I avoid this person now. And that's going to happen. He took the whole like, hey, we think, are we the only ones? Do you need us to recommend more people? Let's make sure we get some more people of color. How can we help? And instead trying to do, I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, how dare you accuse me? All my best friends are this. And like, that is not.
Wow.
Sure,
okay,
just
so
take us out
completely missed the point. Okay, all
exactly.
right.
So
keep it moving.
But this basically turns into Casey and I going, screw it, we'll do our own book. And then we realized neither of us, we both write too much in our day-to-day jobs. And then it turned to, screw it, we'll do a podcast. And so that's how Other Side of Sales was born. Because it's literally the other side that no one was really talking about. And this was 2018. So we were doing podcasts before they were cool. And so it was just a podcast literally just interviewing women in sales leadership roles or really high-performing women in sales. And that eventually kind of morphed a few things there over 4.5 years, actually almost 5 years. Because we launched in 2019, I think. So we ran through the pandemic, and over the course of the pandemic, Casey had a few life events that happened. She had a near-death experience, and she realized, hey, this isn't the direction I need to go. So she stepped away. She's more of a marketer anyway. Okay. I took over the podcast. I ran it with a few other people as like rotating co-hosts, which was lovely. But then after a while, I was like, this is not working for me anymore. So shut down the podcast. And then after about 6 months of everyone saying, oh my gosh, where's the Other Side of Sales? I miss it. I realized, well, I can't do the podcast the way I did anymore. But everyone knows me as Ashleigh from Other Side of Sales. So why don't I rebrand my consulting that I've been doing since 2020 as Other Side of Sales Consulting? So that's how this came to be. But
I'm so glad I asked, because the story, you delivered. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. And I'll say this, the story of how I got into consulting is possibly even crazier because.
Okay. Well, listen, you teed it up. So now you got to let's run with it. Let's go.
This is I'll make this one a little bit short, but the long and the short of it is I come from high tech sales. So I've gone through 2 IPOs. I've gone through 2 acquisitions. I've gone through companies that just randomly shut down overnight. I've been there, done that, got the branded t-shirts for my husband to prove it. And what happened was on December 19th, 2019, I was laid off for the 5th time in 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. December 19, real classy. And
yeah, happy holidays.
Yeah, basically. Like it was literally December 19th. It was today's your last day. I was like, thanks.
Cool.
Yeah. But that led to a little bit of a kind of crisis. And because I had the downtime over the holidays, something became very clear, which is I cannot work for anyone else right now. I just can't. I'm not in a good headspace. I will take the first available job. It will not be a good one. Mm-hmm. I need to just work for myself for a little bit. So the original intent was, because that job I was already working for a semi-consulting-esque company. I already had 2 or 3 clients at that company reach out to me and been like, we can't do this without you. Can we hire you? And I was like, no, but a little bit. And so that's how I got into consulting. I was like, I'll just do this for a few months. So just my timeline, this is now January 2019 or 2020, January 2020.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And over the next 6 months, things got a little bit crazy. And as things got a little bit crazy, I realized I had this very unique, had 2 very unique experiences in my sales background. One of which was I ran the New York territory during Superstorm Sandy. And so every time I get on a sales call, I jump on and just tell the story about how, I only got to 40% of quota, but I got to 40% of quota, and here's how I did it. Oh, and by the way, the quarter after Superstorm Sandy, we got up to 180. So it's not about right now. It's about handling now with as much empathy and efficacy as possible. It's about teeing up what's going to happen next. So I work with a lot of companies on disaster protocols, doing responsible scale downs, because some of them did have to do that. So they're trying to figure out who do we keep, who do we not? Yeah. What do we really need to be doing right now? Realized I had some specialists for messaging and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, 6 months became a year, became now 5 years. And kind of this more sustainable, the practice has gone through a few different things. And now our real focus is, again, that shift from founder-led sales to sustainable sales practices.
So, okay. So listen, I got to dig into this for a minute because it's worth exploring because of the shift that I'm seeing now. I don't know what your LinkedIn feed looks like, but my LinkedIn feed kind of looks like this, right? You've got a ton of professionals, many who have either chosen to leave their jobs because the burnout is real or have been laid off. Yes. Okay. And so now many of these folks are exploring what, solopreneurship could look like, and could I do consulting, advisory, fractional work? Tell me, what was that transition like for you? What were some of the core learnings for you? Because I think that this is useful advice given what I'm seeing now. Again, I don't know what your feed looks like, but mine is flooded with these stories. Everyone wants to be a content creator. So
it is. And as someone who does a lot of content, gets a lot of leads from LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's interesting, I think a lot of people fall into, and I say this for people who are currently in consulting as well as people who are looking at going into it. It is not unusual to have early success. It is not unusual for your first 6 to 12 months to be like, okay, I've got my first few clients. We've got momentum. It's going great. And then all of a sudden, either around the 1, the 2 year, the 3 year mark, all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything was referral based and now I'm not getting referrals. And where did my income go? Mm-hmm. What you thought was working. What you thought you had niche down isn't. Yeah. You start taking work because whatever work you can find, just pay the bills. And I hit that hard. So initially it was more like, I'm making more money than ever. And I really enjoy my work. And I'm the only person I know who's kind of thriving during the pandemic. This feels really weird. While also losing my mind during the pandemic. It was a great dichotomy. Right. As you know how it goes. I think I speak for a lot of people too, where it's like the better work is going, in some ways, the worse my personal life goes. And then the better my personal life goes, the worse my work goes. Yeah. It's fun. Mm-hmm. But, 2020 was really interesting. And so it was really more 2021, 2022, where I was like, okay, I'm committing to this. And I was committing to it for a couple other reasons, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point. But, I was like, okay, I have to commit to this through at least 2026. So how am I going to make this an actual proper, scalable, repeatable business that doesn't have me freaking out about how I'm going to make rent every month like I did when I was 22? Fair. And that was really hard. And that's something that bluntly, I think most of the solopreneurs that I know still almost have to figure out every 6 months. Mm-hmm. And it's not uncommon to do that for 4 to 5 years. It's not uncommon, some people, to do that for closer to 10 years. What helps people, I think, the most is understanding a couple things. One is make sure that your loved ones and the people you live with understand kind of what they're signing up for. I thought I knew. I thought my husband knew. Neither of us did. And so that's been something that I didn't really anticipate as much, because before it's like he knew I was getting a paycheck, he knew when I was going to get it, stuff like that. Now it's right. Okay, well, that client's 30 days late paying you. Why are they 30 days late paying you? Right. Why? It's like that Jennifer Lawrence. Why? What? Why? Why? What do you mean? It's like, what do you mean they haven't signed yet? Right. You said it was going well. Well, it is. Are you sure they'll sign? Yes, I'm sure they will sign. Are you sure? Are you sure? So it's...
Yeah, then everyone's like your board of advisors.
Yeah. And that's the other side of this too, is it took me quite a while to realize that the wisdom in solopreneurship is realizing what advice to listen to and what advice to ignore. Mm-hmm. And there are 2 ways that I determine this, that I figured out over the years. One is never take advice from someone who hasn't done it. That's a big one, especially on LinkedIn. Just saying. There's a lot of people who are saying things that have never actually done it. If I see one more person.
Actually, I'm going to have to piggyback off this because you're literally striking a chord with me. So
it's driving me nuts.
I do some advisory work in addition to my full-time gig. And I literally had a call with a woman this week, and she basically had engaged a consultant for a very large sum of money and showed up to the calls. And let's just put it this way, was extremely disappointed with what she was getting. And I asked her, I said, well, did you do your due diligence? Was this person referred? Did you speak to anybody else they had worked with? Did you look at their resume? Did they have the experience that you were looking to emulate? And she fell short on doing her proper research, because what she was seeing on LinkedIn gave her the perception that this person was like an ace. But I'm like, anybody can say anything. I said, now forget it. With ChatGPT and all these AI tools, like everybody is saying anything that can be regurgitated from the proper prompt. So I'm like, you have to do your homework. But that kills me, because every time there's somebody out there who's pitching services that hasn't done the work, that doesn't have the experience, what a huge disservice to not only the people that they're serving, but it's a huge disservice to the rest of us who have the credibility, who have the experience, who have done it, who are trying to be helpful.
Exactly.
Because once you're burnt, it's hard to come back to that.
Well, and it turns into this crazy echo chamber where you have people putting up posts that are like this. It's either crazy advice or it's intentionally bad advice, or it just oversimplifies things. Like if I say this before, but this is one of my biggest pet peeves when people give financial advice on LinkedIn.
My husband, who works in finance, will challenge that because he's like, isn't that illegal? He goes, everything that I do has to be like governed by our systems. He goes, I can't give people financial advice. We say this all the time. So I'll send him TikToks and I'm like, hey, look, this guy said that we should do this for our savings. He goes, if you send me one more of these scam videos, he goes, I'm going to unfriend you.
It's
crazy.
And I'll say that in LinkedIn, I'll say it. So it's like, that's a big thing for me. And especially like I see these like, I hate these posts, and I get they're inspirational for some, but for a lot of people, at least for me, they're so demoralizing. And so I know for a lot of other people, they're so demoralizing. Like my early years in sales were rough. Like not just like, okay, like everyone talks about, oh, you should live off your salary and save your commission. Yeah, I lived in freaking San Francisco. That was not possible. There was literally every dollar I made went into rent. And the very basics of living. This was before there was a cost of living crisis.
Right.
Like, it was the whole thing. And you see these people who are like, oh my gosh, I lived with 5 roommates and this and that. I'm like, I have a husband who has 3 different health conditions. No, I can't take a roommate. No, I can't live in a small place. No, I can't go live with my parents. There are no jobs around my parents. Like all this stuff, like, oh my God, make sure you max out your 401k, make sure you max out your Roth IRA. Okay, well, I've got $20,000 in medical bills every month.
Yeah, like those are luxuries that aren't available to everybody. And that's the thing, exactly. Is they are luxuries.
Like, one of my top performing LinkedIn posts ever was I just posted a video about the fact that my first ever work business trip, I was so excited about this. And my boss was like, hey, yeah, no worries. You're going to go to New York. I lived in San Francisco. So like, you're going to go to New York, book your flights. Here's the hotel to book at, and then just reimburse it when you get back. So I went home. I'm all excited. I'm going to book it. I was like my 3rd week on the job. This was my like 2nd, 3rd SDR gig. And I realized that the flights and the hotel were going to be about $6,000. I had literally just maxed out all of my credit cards to move for this job. I did not have $6,000. So I had to go to my boss and say, I can borrow this money from my in-laws. And my boss, God bless this woman, because she was like, I'm so sorry, it didn't even occur to me. You're right. And especially given how much I know that you're paid, it's unlikely you would have $6,000 in savings. I'm going to cover these and buy this for you. I'm so sorry I asked, and I'm going to go make sure HR has a policy for this in the future. And I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. And then I went to my next job, and that happened. And I did it to an SDR accidentally. I did the exact same thing. I was like, hey, you're going on a business trip, just expense it. Let me know when you get back. And I saw their face fall, and I went, no. And I immediately was like, and if you can't do that for whatever reason, no judgment, whatever, just let me know. We have a policy that will cover it for you. And I was like, and then she's like, yeah, I don't have it. I'm like, great, no worries. I've got it.
It's so wild. Actually, like, I haven't run into that, but like, yes, like that's, yes. Not everybody has that available money sitting around to go and lay out for these things.
Yeah. And why are the employees financing the company? Like, I'm still paying interest when that's on my credit card. Right. I'm still paying interest if you've said,
listen, we could probably do an entire episode on this, Ashleigh.
I got all sorts of, I once had a $10,000 expense, or trip total, whatever, $10,000. That because it broke the 10K, it took 90 days. I calculated it out. It cost me $2,000. It just in fees and interest, because I had to put on one of the higher interest cards because I'm not going to dip in my savings. Screw that. Now I wish I had.
How do you manage that with your employer then? Like, do you go back and have that conversation?
In that point, I chose to walk away. I was not happy. Okay. It left a really bad taste in my mouth about it. I was just like, I won't do this again, basically. It was just the next time it comes up, I'm going to say no. And I'm going to remind them of that. But it was not worth the fight. In that situation, it was one of the larger companies I worked at. There was an issue with approvals and a few other things. It just got lost in the system.
Which is crazy. If you're a larger company, why don't you have corporate cards? Why don't you have a travel and expense team that's managing this? Like, I've worked for companies where I had somebody who booked all of my stuff, right? Said, here's your flight that's within budget based on your airport you need to go to, times. Like, right. Yep. Like, you give your information, we give you our policies, and then we've got a team of people that go and take care of this. Like, you don't do anything, you show up. or give people a corporate card, or give people means to do this. Like, that's crazy.
And there's tools now. Like I got this at one of the companies I recently worked at, where they issue temp cards with pre-authorized amounts on it. So if you know you're going to go on a business trip, they say, hey, here's your temp card. It's maxed up to this. Please follow these guidelines when booking, ping us with questions. And I saw it and I was like,
brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Literally
exactly.
Brilliant.
I was like, I love this company. I tell every company I work with, I forget the name of it right now. I plug it otherwise, but like, you can Google it. It's out there. There are plenty of options there. But yeah, so this stuff happens and it's crazy. Anyway, the point was like, it was rough. So I see people doing this fiscal advice, like, don't forget to max things out. Don't forget this and that. I'm like, do you realize the entitlement? Or like, God, there was someone like 2 years ago, and this still pisses me off. Someone was posting about how he was able to rent in San Jose a 4-bedroom apartment, which, by the way, that's going to be a $5,000-$6,000 a month apartment in San Jose.
That's crazy because it's more than most people's mortgage.
Thank you. And San Jose is stupid.
Right.
It's like San Francisco, but similarly stupid. So it's a super expensive area. It's a super expensive apartment. Then talked about how he brought in, he lived in the smallest room and brought in like 7 roommates or something like that. And so they covered most of the rent. So he basically lived for free. And he's talking about how it was really rough and he had to do this and he had to do that. My brain just got stuck on who in their right mind, no apartment company. I lived in a lot of apartments in San Jose too. No apartment person that I know of would ever rent to an SDR making 60, maybe 80 grand a year.
Right.
That apartment. Somebody's, and there's no judgment here.
Somebody's parent definitely stepped in and took care of that.
Exactly. And
but again, it's also that's also a point of privilege, right? Like exactly. to have a parent that's willing to do that.
And that was my whole thing, was I get really frustrated with people who aren't honest about the privilege.
Right.
So you have to disclose that stuff as well as the challenges. Because otherwise, what's the point? Because, it's this sort of stuff where everybody's a little bit different. So kind of advice, it's never take advice from someone who hasn't done it. And the second piece of it, it's never take advice from, or don't use advice from someone who doesn't know the full story. And that maybe you never tell anyone the full story. That's fine. You know the full story. So you can take the advice and you can reject it and say, that's good advice for someone other than me.
You know what's so interesting? I'm always curious about the people that will offer the advice without asking more clarifying questions. And forget, like on the personal side, I probably won't, because unless somebody wants to disclose those things, I don't think it's my right to go and ask. Yeah. But when it comes to business, if somebody is asking you a question and you're not following up with like 3 to 4 other questions to get more information, there are so many variables in every situation that need to be considered. So I always tell everybody, I'm like, if you ask a question and you are met with an answer, run. If you ask a question and you're met with a question, proceed.
Yeah, or given an option where it's like, hey, so based on that, it sounds like maybe X or Y. Which one of those sounds, okay, why? But let's refine that a bit more.
Right. But you're going to do a little bit more, right? You're not just saying, here's the answer, right? Because there is not a one size fits all to everything. Correct.
Well, and that's, tying it to the theme here, I think that's one of the things, not to stereotype, but at the same time that I've noticed the female executives that I work with, we live in that gray. We're so used to seeing it, to looking for it. Like, we know the answers in the gray. The gray is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of the more masculine presences are like, oh, right and wrong, black and white, it's this or that, and I know the answer. It's like, well, okay, that absolutely was the answer. And there are a lot of consultants who make their whole career, and they do have great careers, and they are great people with great products, but they have one play, they run at one type of company in one situation. And so when they go through their sales process, they're trying to convince you that you're in that bucket for them and that this will work for you.
Yep.
Versus,
you see that with a ton of leaders. Sadly.
Yeah, you see that with a lot of leaders. And you also see this with a lot of leaders who come in and be like, oh, I've done this before 5 times. I can do it again here. And then it's a completely different scenario. And
that is my favorite. Like, if you've got somebody who just has a playbook and only knows how to run that playbook, that might not be the best fit for you. Because anybody who's coming into any company and isn't trying to learn the business, learn the customers, learn the product, learn whatever you need to learn, and then adjusting to account for all of those things, you're going to get it wrong almost 100% of the time. And I can speak to that because I did it. My second VP job, I came off of a 5.5-year success stint at a company, and I was like, I know what I'm doing. And I came in hard with very fixed frameworks of like, this is what success looks like. And I put my blinders on, and I came in and I was like a bulldog. I'm just like executing left and right, only to find very fast, I'm like, oh shit.
None of this is working.
Okay, we're just going to wind this back very slowly. But it was painful. It was a painful learning. But you know what? I never made that mistake ever again. And I will tell you, every leader who I see who has that motion, I'm either like, or panic and run.
Yeah. And that's basically the two things. So it's like, look, if you have one, like I said, there are situations where that makes sense. And some of the best consultants that I know, and so they've even advised me over the years, they have their one play, and that's their whole thing, is they have niched down to their one play that works in one circumstance, and they know how to find the people who are in that circumstance. Now, these people are doing it very ethically. They're not trying to shoehorn people in to give themselves business. They genuinely know, and there's enough market for them that they're fine.
Yeah, and listen, if you're just trying to create a lifestyle business for you and you only need a couple things, there's plenty of TAM for that, right? And if you know your sweet spot, fine, that's cool. Your audience and your ICP is so crystal clear, then yes, target that.
Yeah. That's a brilliant business motion. That's what everyone wants, realistic. And you can build, I know several people who built multi-million-dollar businesses doing that.
Yeah.
It is absolutely possible. Now, that said, I think that's a bit more like striking gold, in the sense of it is really, the stars have to align to find that. And the people that did had that moment, and they were able to see it and grab it.
Right.
So it's something we're all kind of hoping for, but realistically, a good chunk of this is that. And that's the other thing too, I think, that's worth mentioning to other, especially people who are looking to get into consulting or stuff, is remember, you do not have to stay in consulting, right? You can get back out of it. You can go back to corporate. It's okay. And that might be because that could be for any number of reasons. The biggest thing, though, is to make sure you never stop networking. The same way when you're in a role, you never stop networking. You never stop networking once you're consulting. So I've had a lot of people who are like, oh, hey, would you ever come back to corporate? I'm like, yeah, numbers just have to be right.
Right.
Numbers have to be right. The job has to be right. But that's the nice thing, is then you've got the flexibility to basically just kind of sit back and wait and see, okay, am I going to keep, I've got my business, it's running here. I've got my happy clients. I really enjoy the work that I'm doing. I love working with these founders. It's fantastic. But at the same time, if something comes along, great.
And I think that's the thing. I feel like people feel like that is a direct reflection of something, or it says something about them. I didn't make it, right? It's almost that you're worried about what the perception will be if you went on your own and now you're going back in-house. And so I don't know why people are so, it shouldn't be that.
You know what it is? I think it's because we don't have the only 2 acceptable exits for a bit when you found a business is to sell it or go public.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not to go I'm super nerdy sci-fi fan, but not to quote The Witcher, but sometimes the best thing a business can do for you is die. Sometimes things just die. It's okay. It happens. And it doesn't mean anything was done wrong. It means the market shifted. It means your needs shifted. It means the world. Who cares?
Right.
It doesn't mean there was a failure if you choose to end something. That's it. So we dealt with a bit of this with my husband had a business that we tried to kind of kick off and run, and it failed during the pandemic. And the whole my business is doing great. Yeah, that was a fun dynamic. But that kind of taught me a lot about hey, it's not a failure. It's just the end. And so kind of that's really helped me in the back of my mind to be okay, if I walk away from this, it doesn't mean I failed, because I've got over 100 customers. I've got over 5,000 people I've trained. I've got multi-million-dollar revenue companies that I helped get started. I've got, whatever, brag stat. I've accomplished a ton in this time. Was it everything I wanted? No, but also it was way more than I ever expected. So if this ends, great. That's been a fun journey. It's cool. But at the same time, do I have more I want to do? Yes, I do. And I am looking for new clients. Always looking for new clients. But it's one of those things too, where it's just understanding that. And at the same time, that's one of the reasons I love working with founders, is because so much of the work with the founders is on this mindset stuff.
I love that. The She's So Sweet podcast is brought to you by Client Success. Client Success is an all-in-one customer success platform to help post-sale implementation and success teams manage customers from new to renew. Through an industry-leading platform approach, Client Success gives businesses an in-depth view into customer health, product usage trends, along with churn and risk data so that your team can not only retain customers, but help them grow as well. Whether it's managing customer onboarding workflows in shared portals, building custom health scores, tracking sentiment with NPS surveys, or doing more with less through AI and automations, Client Success gives customer success professionals a true one-stop platform to manage all aspects of the customer journey. To learn more about the industry's fastest to implement customer success platform, visit www.clientsuccess.com. That's Client Success. Simple, powerful customer success. All right, so Ashleigh, we got to rewind though, because I let this conversation take us down a rabbit hole way sooner than I typically do, and I do want to get to a couple other things because your career is really fascinating to me. So I want to go way back for a quick second. So like, I want you to think back to as far as you can remember.
Oh,
what did you want to be when you were little? What did you think you were going to be when you were little?
It's funny because the first thing that comes to mind, I actually don't remember, but my mom has on video. So when I was about 4 and my sister was 2, my mom, big old VHF recording in the 80s.
Yep.
The whole thing has on camera my mom asking my sister and I what we want to be when we grow up. And I said president, which of course came out president.
Uh-huh.
My sister said mom. And in a weird way, that's very prophetic because she's now got she's got my 2 nieces. She's at home with them. She's a wonderful, amazing mother. And I'm over here with my dogs and my husband in Europe running my own company. So I grew up I got a little older and realized I do not want to be president. That is not a job I want at all. Dear Lord, that is way too much pressure. But president of my own company?
I was going to say, but president of something, yes. Yeah. President of that, maybe not.
Yeah, no, I don't need a country. I don't want. Not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I think a lot of people should probably back out of that. Okay, so, all right, so we started there, so president. So obviously that did not manifest into maybe the grand idea that you had when you were 4. But now fast forward to where we are today. So walk me through your career journey, because obviously it's a long way from president to, well, I guess president. But tell me about your journey, because your career obviously started, I think you kind of referenced being an SDR at some points. We talked about sales and all of these things. So start me from your beginning.
Yeah, I think I kind of have to go I'm going to give kind of a quick bullet version, but because it is an interesting journey and it's a non-traditional journey, but it's also, I think, something that a lot of your readers will resonate with.
All right, let's go.
When I was in junior high and high school, I got really into politics. Like I was working on campaigns level of politics.
Wow.
And I also got really into the West Wing when that was airing.
I could see that.
And I wanted to be CJ Craig. So bad. So when I went to college, I was into speech and debate. I was into student government. I did Junior Leaders of America.
So this actually took you from 4 years old pretty far.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew by the time I was like 6, I didn't want to be president.
But you were still intrigued.
I saw some scandals in the 90s and was like, no, thank you.
I mean, we all lived through that. Well, not everybody, but yes, if you did, it was.
It really, the nail in the coffin there was really, I came to Europe on a choir tour because yes, also choir nerd. And we had all these drunk Bavarians going, which one of you is Monica Lewinsky? I
just watched Monica's documentary actually the other day again. So
I am obsessed with her now.
I do too. I'm a big fan. I love her.
Yeah, the cover shoot for the fashion, just I want that power. Anyway, but I was really into politics. I knew I did not want to be a politician, but I wanted to do something like, make the world a better place. I was young and naive, and stuff. So when I went to college with the intent of going into political PR.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then in college, I got a taste of what it was like to be completely broke.
Yes.
And I should also be clear, while I was in college, I decided to do a double degree. So I did my practical degree in political science, but I also actually am an opera singer. So I did an additional degree in operatic performance and music. And so I was literally doing 70, 80 hours a week between school and homework to do the dual degree and working 20 hours a week to try and support myself. And by my sophomore year, I was like, nope, I am not going into politics. Never mind. The pay is terrible. The hours are the same as this. I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. Never mind. I also knew I didn't want to be a musician for the same reason.
Okay, so now you're halfway through college and you realize that both of the things that
you've been investing your whole life
on. Okay.
I spent 2 years just trying to survive. And then I graduated at the height of the recession in 2009.
Yeah.
I literally had 2 job offers rescinded. I went through this phase where I was like, I'm going to be a speech pathologist. And then that didn't work. I worked as an applied behavioral analyst working early intervention with autistic children for about 2 years. And again, was like just broker than brokety broke. I was miserable. I've got stories from those years. Everyone does. And finally, literally my dad, who has worked in tech sales since the 80s, literally sat me down like virtually on a call and was like, Ashleigh, it's time. You need to go into sales. I'm like, I don't want to travel. I don't want to do this. And he's like, fine, don't listen to me. I'm going to set you up with you remember, he set me up with a father of a friend of mine that I grew up with. I knew this dad reasonably well. I knew he had worked with my dad, but I didn't really know. This guy's a former VP of sales at Oracle.
Got it.
So he put me on the call with him, and he's the one who explained to me what an SDR does. And he talked to me a little bit, and he's like, yeah, you want to do this, but don't do it here. We will chew you up and spit you out, and you're better than that. Okay. And I was like,
I love that.
Very much. But he talked to me like, here's how you set up a LinkedIn. My husband played hockey with the NVIDIA corporate hockey team at that point, and there was a sales guy on that team, so I wouldn't ask him, and he helped me set up he worked for recruiting in NVIDIA. So he helped me set up my LinkedIn. I got my first SDR job, and I just instantly took to it. And I think the reason I instantly took to it was because I had all the organizational analytics from my poli-sci degree. I had the debate skills from doing debate my whole life. And then I also had the performance where the moment I pick up the phone or jump on a call, I flip into performance mode. I'm fine. You cannot rattle me. Once you've been shoved down on stage and during an audition by another girl trying to get a lead, you can't scare me now.
Right.
Your, little man calling me sweetheart ain't going to rattle me anymore. So I had a lot of really early success, especially kind of on cold calling and stuff like that. And then the analytics side of my brain kicked in. And that's what got me kind of into SDR leadership. Because I was one of the few people who was able to pick up a lot of the tools, focus on working smarter versus just volume, which is always a big thing in startups and scale-ups. And then I got a couple very lucky breaks with just knowing the right people and being very vocal about what I wanted. And then when the opportunity came, jumping. So that's kind of how I got into sales and then sales leadership. And yeah.
I mean, we can dissect your entire career journey and probably go down a few rabbit holes here. But because we're getting close to the end of time, I want to kind of dig into a few things here. Help me understand. Obviously, you've overcome a lot. You've done so much. You've had your own successes. What is one of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome through that journey?
I think the biggest obstacle I've had to overcome is regulating, and everyone talks about work-life balance, which is important and is necessary. But I think for me, it's about regulating both. So when work is really stressful, how do I handle that stress at home? When life is really stressful, how do I handle that stress at work?
Yep.
And a big thing for me, I wouldn't say this is my deepest challenge, but this is something that's really been helping me lately. I actually, just a few months ago, was diagnosed with ADHD. And that's been kind of a journey of, this makes a lot of things make sense. So a lot of that dysregulation around, that's why I couldn't let these things go. That's why I struggled with these things. That's why I couldn't shut off. So there's that kind of self-awareness side of it that I think if I had realized that sooner would have made understanding that stuff a lot easier. So to that end, like the big things for me, like in hindsight, it's being really honest with myself about when I needed help and aggressively getting that help. Now, some of that's, we all know if you do any research into this stuff, ADHD in women has not been well documented or diagnosed, especially in women, especially in older women. So there's a lot of people in like millions of people in their late 30s getting diagnosed with really classic symptoms. They just weren't well documented until the past 10, 15 years. So I couldn't have been diagnosed really in my 20s. No one knew. But I think looking back on it, it's being more honest and making sure I'm in environments where I can be honest. I mentioned a couple times my husband has some health issues. When he was at his worst, I thankfully was with a boss that I was able to say he is not okay. And if I needed to leave, I was allowed to leave. A few years later, I was at an environment where I did not have a boss like that. And it really hurt both of us in several different ways. And in hindsight, I really wish I had been aware enough to walk away sooner.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't aware because I was
hard to see that though when you're in it. Yeah.
But looking back, I'm like, I should have left that role the moment I started working for this person. The moment I felt unsafe to bring that up, should have left. Like, it's not like giving them details, but like just being honest in this way, like, hey, he has health issues.
Right.
They don't need to know the details. Early in my career,
it's so funny. It's like, this is something that I see a lot though is early folks earlier in their professional careers think that they need to disclose a lot more than it's actually required. Like, you're allowed to take time off. You're allowed to go to lunch. I don't need to know any of the things that you're doing because you're a grown up.
I have a girl I'm coaching just like informally. And she texted me the other day. She works in an environment where they're very closely monitored, or she used to, she now left. Yay.
Okay. Good for her.
But like they're monitored, like how much time are you logged in? They monitor breaks, stuff like that. It's like, ugh, okay, fine, whatever. Her boss in front of a group of people said, hey, why were you in the bathroom for 15 minutes? And she's telling me, she's like, she's like, I'll be honest, the cramps were just absolutely terrible. I couldn't do anything.
Did she answered him? She answered him with that information?
In the moment she freaked out. Okay. In the moment she freaked out. But I told her, I was like, next time that happens, be honest. Shame him. Like, give him all the gory little details because that's so horrifically inappropriate.
Honestly, like that's probably what I would lead with is like, what an interesting question to ask. I don't think it's any of your business.
Oh my God, I bled through my super, and then it was just a Jackson Pollock, and I wanted to clean it up because I didn't want to deal with it. Like if you're
the horror that would you get stupid answers.
Yeah, like she did the same thing a couple days later. He was questioning her about needing to take time off for a doctor's appointment. I'm like, you do not need to tell him it's a doctor's appointment. Just tell him I am taking time off for a personal reason.
Right.
Oh, but if I tell him it's a doctor's appointment, he won't get mad. He's not allowed to get mad.
He's not allowed to get mad. That's your time. Right.
You do not have to give any details. It's just I am taking time off per company policy. Done.
So Ashleigh, I usually end my episodes with saying like, what's one piece of advice you want to offer to people? And I think we should leave it with that piece of advice is you do not need to disclose all of the details. It's okay. We're all grown-ups.
Well, and it's, you should be, I will say, I'll take it one step further.
Go.
It's trust yourself enough not to disclose and trust the people you work with to not need the details.
Ashleigh, I love that. Well, listen, I think we probably could record 5 different episodes off of your story alone because I'm like, as we're talking, I'm like, I want to go down this.
We didn't even get to how I moved to Europe.
We didn't even get there. So, Ashleigh, I'm going to ask you something that I've only asked one other guest. Would you be open to a part 2?
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay. So TBD, we're going to continue this conversation because I think there's a lot more to unpack here because we didn't get to your point. We didn't get to Europe. So we didn't get past this like, okay, I didn't really love opera. I didn't really love this. Trying to figure out my journey. Ended up in tech sales. But like, I want to actually go through that tech sales journey with you and get to a place where you ended up with your own consulting practice. So if you're cool with it, I'm going to send you a link. And I want to release this as a 2-part episode. I love that. Actually, so we're going to stop right there. For everybody who's listening, I hope that you'll tune in for part 2 of this. But if you've enjoyed this episode, please rate, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, connect with us on LinkedIn. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Hi guys, I want to share a bit about an organization that I support called Wednesday Women. They're on a mission to increase the visibility of executive women leaders that you should know, learn from, and be inspired by. On LinkedIn, they share the profile of 2 amazing women each week, on Wednesdays of course. And now just imagine if we all followed, amplified, and nominated the women that we want to see more of. Their initiative provides examples of women CEOs, founders, sales executives, technical leaders, and so many more. By supporting Wednesday Women, you'll see more of these professionals in your social feeds, of course, but also on stages, podcasts, and panels. If you're interested in learning more and supporting their initiative, head over to www.wednesdaywomen.org or follow them on LinkedIn.